welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We've all here in the digital age, but we're also facing the downside of the digital age. I'm talking about cyber crime, I'm talking about digital arrest, I'm talking about frauds. This is something that we've all heard about, one thing or the other. Either it's happened to someone we know, or unfortunately, it has happened to us. The Prime Minister himself has taken note of it in his Mann Ki Baat. He has cautioned the country, cautioned all of us against falling prey to this, and also told us what we must do to avoid. And if this happens to us, what are the steps that one must take? To join me on this issue and to talk about what is happening, I have people who are experts, cyber experts, policy experts, who will tell us what to do if such a thing happens, and of course, what to watch out for, how to not to get into this trap, and just be aware and be alert. So we will be looking at the markers, and also joining me is Nikhat Bhatty. She's a filmmaker and a script writer, and someone who had a close brush with one of these, someone tried to do a digital arrest. She'll tell us about it. She, of course, got on in time. But something like this, could happen to just any one of us. I also had an experience recently, which I'll tell you about. And also on the show is Dr. Jaijit Bhattacharya. He's a digital policy expert. And Jiten Jain, he's a cyber security expert. So, welcome to this conversation, all of you. And I know it's festival season, so pretty heavy topic to talk about. But since the Prime Minister himself has put highlighted this, and I think everywhere we go, somebody or the other does talk about a case like this happening. So, Nikhat, I'll begin with you first. Recently, I remember you told us about an incident, something that happened to you. So, if you could tell us in brief as to what happened and how were you warned? When did you realize that this is a fake?
Well, actually, one is always bombarded with messages and links, regarding various things, and one knows it's a fraud, right? So I never responded. But sadly, I was expecting an important parcel which had not come. And so when I got a message from DHL, which I thought referred to the said parcel, in my desperation, I made the mistake of pressing on a link. That link took me to DHL, supposedly.
Actually.
And yes, and there was a very nice sounding man who identified himself as Joseph, somebody or the other, who told me that it's not a parcel that I'm to receive, but a parcel that I have sent, which has been seized by customs. So I immediately refuted it and I said, rubbish, rubbish, I have not sent anything. But where is the particle that I'm to get? I was still hung up on my parcel, sorry. So this whole thing happened till he's told me, wait, ma'am, just write down these details. And then in the conversation, it turned out that somebody had used my Aadhaar card to send a parcel abroad. And so that caught my attention. Nobody wants their Aadhaar card to be used,
Right.
by somebody else. So till that point, I was dismissive. No, no, I have not sent a parcel. But I said, hang on a minute. What do you mean my Aadhaar card? And he had my details. So that got me worried, and I kept asking questions. And the replies were clear, not confused, very specific. So one kept getting, embroiled in it. I mean, he was engaging me, and he
Hmm.
knew how to engage me, right? So question answer was going on. I mean, he was saying things that would automatically, I would have questions, and then he would give me an answer. And so there was this thing going on. And my God, he was so kind to me. He was worried about me. So there was a little bit of that emotional thing that,
Empathy.
ma'am, yeah, like, you're a deep shit. So like, let me help you. So he made me write down a whole lot of details about a parcel that had gone to some Southeast Asian country. And which, of course, he said, ma'am, please write down list of contents. And in the list of contents was MDMA. And I do know what MDMA is. And he asked me, ma'am, do you know what MDMA is? I said, I do know what it is, but I have not sent this parcel. So like, what do I have to fear? So he says, ma'am, but you should do a complaint with this, the customs, blah, blah, cyber cell, etc. And he gave me details and said, I'll connect you. So actually, that was the first red flag, which somehow I overlooked. Now, when I go back, I can analyze it.
Mhm.
But at that point, I let him connect me because he said, no, we deal with these issues. So I thought maybe there's somebody in their office itself who does this. So he connected me to somebody who was from the cyber cell. And he gave me his name and immediately sort of started sending me his ID card and everything. and made me repeat everything. Now, the interesting thing is that even his tone of the way he spoke, very credible, spoke decent English and seemed concerned, etc. This entire thing took hours, so I'm trying my best to squish it into a few minutes. So, but the whole thing, he kept engaging me again and then told me that this is a very serious thing. Can I come to Bombay right away? Because this parcel was sent from Bombay. I was sitting all the way near Manali in Himachal, and I was like, I can't get myself to Bombay right away. So he said, all right, then do you have Skype? You give your bayan on the video call. So I thought that was reasonable. So I downloaded Skype. He helped me download it, and then I kind of gave my bayan on the thing that I read out all the details and everything, and I said I have not sent this package, and please just basically register a
Mm.
complaint of identity theft. And so then he said, all right, ma'am, just hold on. And my senior, I'm transferring it to my senior, then he will, decide what to do with the case. And I hear him walking, I can hear sounds of him walking. He goes into another room. There is a senior there. They converse. The senior sounds senior.
Mm.
He's got a more mature voice. His English is a little better. And then the senior takes over and the two of the converse that, oh, this is like that case. Yeah, like that case, etc. And now the senior takes over. This gentleman starts telling me, and that's when the fear really grows, because he really frightens me about similar cases in which someone died and there are sleeper cells. And basically, this is a money laundering thing, and somebody's used my identity to launder money. And then he sends me photographs of some very scary looking fellow and says, how do you know him? Where did you meet him? So this, creating this fear psychosis started. I was scared. I was totally paranoid. I was sobbing by the end of it. I was completely sobbing by the end of it. He's on his wireless and he's telling somebody, just check this, this Aadhaar card, where all has been used. And at the end of that, he says, Jai Hind. Then I hear the person on the other end saying, Jai Hind. Then it was just the whole crafting of it was incredibly realistic. Incredibly realistic. His tone of voice, the way just the right amount of sympathy and yet being tough with me, like the way a senior cop would be,
Authority.
the authority thing. And then, my God, he really scared me. There was somebody else. And then he started telling me that you don't share this with anybody. So that was actually when I started thinking that why can I not tell my family,
Mm.
so he was like, because she said, no, it's okay if you tell your, immediate family, but if they tell somebody and, you can't control it. And if the sleeper cell gets to know, this person was shot dead and all. And I was like, wow, that's freaky.
Mm.
So then, they send you something to sign and it says, you can't speak about this to anybody, confidentiality, this, that. So I was at that point doubting. But to be honest, it was so quick. Like I said, the engagement was so intense that your mind, you don't get the time to really pursue the doubt in your head, like logically take that doubt to its conclusion. So yes, I was put on digital arrest, and he's told me not to put my Skype video off. But I had a friend calling me. I had to meet for lunch. I said, look, I have to go. So he said, okay, you can put the visual off, and not the audio, and go wherever you have to go. So I left my phone on charge, ran out and told my friend, immediately told her everything, and I said, look, I'm going to get my phone now. Don't say anything, blah, blah, blah. I told my cousin sister, who informed my sister, and so on. And then I took my phone and we had normal conversation, etc. And meanwhile, the phone had got off, as in the Skype had gone off. So when I reconnected, that man was so livid with me, that why did you put it off? Ma'am, I'm telling you, you're on arrest. And, if this is how you're going to behave, then blah, blah, blah. You have to come here and imagine a room and, there'll be somebody be questioning you. And do you want that? And, obviously I don't want that. So eventually, of course, moment I told my family, my sister knew somebody whose father had a similar experience and actually paid money. So she immediately told me, disconnect it. Just disconnect it, remove Skype. And as a matter of fact, shut your phone down completely, because they might be trying to tap into your phone. There were, of
Mm.
course, many things he said, like what bank accounts do you have, but never asked me for any numbers, never asked me for any information like that. He kept asking me, has there been suspicious activity in your bank account? I said, none, things like that. So there was, now I look back, of course, he was trying to find out how much, money would I have in the bank and how much am I worth. All those things were indirectly, I was being questioned. So because my sister knew of somebody who had an experience like this, I just put my phone off. As a matter of fact, I changed my phone. I had fortunately bought a new phone, so I just switched to my new phone. But I can tell you that it was extremely frightening. And, since I feel what they employ is they employ all the techniques of hypnotherapy. So they actually do hypnotize you. And I do hypnotherapy, so I'm aware of what the technique is. And now when I look back, I realize that they had used all those techniques. So they don't allow you to think rationally and logically. You're kind of in a state of hypnosis. So
Basically, also they bombard you with they don't allow you time to think. They just keep you
that's the
engaged.
technique. That's the
That's the
technique.
technique.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for sharing this with us, Nikhat. It's been quite a traumatic time. I can, just hearing of it. But Jaijit, what is your first reaction to this? And this is probably not the first case you heard. So cases are increasing all the time. So what should one look out for? And what is first your reaction to how Nikhat reacted and her story? You to unmute yourself, Dr. Jaijit.
No, I think two key issues is what drives is fear and greed. You'll see most of the frauds that are happening are on fear and greed. And it's not necessarily a cyber attack in that sense, there's more of social engineering. The other point I wanted to make is that people keep thinking it happens to others. I'm too smart, it'll not happen to me. I mean, take Nikat's example. She's well aware, well traveled, well exposed, and yet she came pretty close to being conned. And my point is, it can happen to any one of us because this is
Yeah.
not the only way. This is not the only way that conning is happening. There'll be more new ways that'll be invented, and I'm glad that the Prime Minister brought it up in Man Ki Baat. But he might have put a lid on the so-called digital arrest, but there'll be one new trick that'll be invented, and that'll get people hooked on. As you know, I've been running fintech with over 250,000 merchants, and we faced frauds that our merchants had to get the brunt of it every day, about 4 to 5 every day. And this is typically targeted towards those who are at that time those who are old, those who are not very familiar with technology, and so on. But having said all of this, let's just fast forward and assume Nikhat did fall into the trap and she did transfer money. How will the money get transferred? It'll get transferred digitally. It'll get
Correct.
transferred from her account to another account. Now, as per the banking regulations, every single account that is opened by the banks must have a vigorous KYC. I'm sure all of you have opened up bank accounts in the recent past where the bank manager or a representative actually comes to your house. They are polite. They say, "Aapko aane ki zarurat nahi hai. You don't need to come to the bank branch. We will come to you." The reason being they want to check whether you are in the residence or not. So there is a very deep check that happens. Then why is it that when these money gets transferred to another account where a KYC has been done, there is no check as to whose account it has gone into? The response that comes in from the so-called cyber police, and I'm sorry to say this, is quite tardy, is extremely tardy. You tell them something has happened, or let's step back. Let's say Nikhat figured out that there's a fraud. She had a phone number that it came from. Where do you lodge this? She knew it. Now somebody else will fall for it. Where can she share this information? And when you actually go in and say, "Oh, my credit card, somebody took the OTP and I've had a fraud," and you realize it an hour later, you call up the bank and the very rude person in the bank says, "Oh, you put the OTP, so it's done. You gave the consent." Now the settlement happens on a T+1 day. So the bank has not yet settled. So they can settle it the next day. Yet they go ahead and settle it. There's a huge lacuna on the bank side. There are huge lacunas on the financial services side. There's huge lacuna between various departments and ministries because this is not something that only MHA can look at, which is Ministry of Home Affairs. They have set up an entity called I4C, but that is not sufficient because under the allocation of business rules, they are not supposed to go and do the fraud check. It has to be done by the banking financial services department. There also has to be involvement of Ministry of IT. There also has to be involvement of banks. Now there is one can easily create a middleware. I was trying to use a lighter word than middleware. a system like Aadhaar or a system like like any of the DPIs that we have created, which connects ordinary people like us and Nikhat, where we can put in the phone numbers of those that we think are causing fraud, connects to the banks, connects to the
Yeah.
financial services, connects to I4C. And then we are not saying that damn the person, that, here is a phone number, damn the person. You use a statistical check. If there are 100 calls that are coming in saying this number is fraud, then you decide it's fraud. Because the counter arguments that have been given to me that, oh, then people will go around putting everybody else's phone number into that system and say they're all fraud. So I'll put Priya's number and say, oh, that number is a fraud. Well, it can't just be, there has to be hundreds of people saying so. There are
But we
statistics.
have Truecaller, which says fraud, now at least
Absolutely,
some
Priya.
checks are there.
Absolutely. Now, why isn't a similar system created and integrated with all the banks and the financial systems? Because as I said, let's just go back to what really happens. The money goes from Nikhat's account to the fraudster's account. Both accounts are KYC'd. It goes through the financial system, which is why we went through this painful process of demonetization so that everything is digital, can be monetized, and hence caught. Why isn't the second part happening? Yes, we have become digital. We make most of our payments digitally. Why is the second part of it, which is enforcement, coming up as
Yes.
fast? And it's very much possible.
I'm glad to hear that. But more and more, I think I see people reverting back to checks or even cash, because now even Google Pay, there are scams coming up. You don't know where you sent your money. Uh, this customs phone call, of course, is happen. I had someone calling me and saying your Airtel bill is due, and if you don't pay, Friday 6 o'clock they call me. If you don't pay within half an hour, your phone will be finished. And they told me to download a link. So this, I mean, it all comes down to we should be, yes, careful of downloading links and OTPs. But Jitin, what about the links we already have? Now, if scams have reached your Google Pay, what will you do? I mean, what is safe anymore, Jitin?
Nothing. I mean, scammers are more proactive and more innovative than many of us. And Jaideep has has put it wonderfully. I mean, in last 10-15 years, at the speed at which we have digitalized our society, public services delivery, and financial sector, at that scale and speed, we have not been able to impart cyber security education or basic cyber security hygiene to our people. And that is the problem. You have now almost, the 40 crore people who have logged on to the internet for the first time in their lives in the last 2-3 years. There
Hmm.
are around 20-30 crore people who have got first smartphone for the first time in their lives in the last 2 years. And they have absolutely no idea that they're carrying a bomb and what can go wrong with that device. Their entire banking life is connected to it. Their social media life, identity thefts, everything what you can imagine in life and virtual world is connected to it. And they have
Already
no
had
idea.
Nikhat's Aadhaar number, for instance. So what is
Yeah,
this?
so I'm coming to it.
Hmm.
So the way we have been brought up, that our society, we think that it is okay to give our personal mobile numbers and email IDs to every restaurants, banks, and this shopping malls you go. We happily give it away for getting a bill or even getting a refund. We are happy to give as many photocopies of our IDs and passports when we want a new connection to anyone and everyone, without even writing that for what purpose it is given. We don't use virtual IDs. We are happy to give multiple photos to people when they ask for one. We carry one extra just in case one is not accepted. We are happy if somebody is making photocopy of our documents. So what happened? The informations in isolation are not that critical. But if you connect those informations on a bigger scale, then you're able to draw the complete life picture of a person. So you get email ID and mobile number for one source. You get their shopping history from one source. You get their photos and Aadhaar number for another source. So you have their everything of life. So once you have it, then these people are not asking Nigar their Aadhaar or his her bank account details, not because they don't know it. They're just trying to cross-verify that how much he has started to start trusting them. So see, the fear is the biggest manipulator of human mind. So they are, it's a psychological check. The moment she has attended the call for 30, 40 seconds, they very well know that she has fallen for it. Now, the second step is the trust building. That, how do you make a person believe that it is not in it is in their interest to continue with this call. If they disconnect the call, something might go horrifically wrong, something irreversible might happen. So they continue with the call. Now, again, even if somebody is scared, they'll not give you money, right? So then you come up with a pretext to help that, look, we understand that you may not have ordered these drugs. You may not have, your child may not have actually been carrying drugs, but still is caught with the people, his friends may have been carrying it. So they're there to help. And they say that, oh, we understand that it may not be you, your public reputation is at stake. So what do you need to do? A, you need to record your statement. You need to hire a lawyer. and all those services are provided to you online instantly. And second, once all this nonsense is happening, they have to ensure that you don't seek external help. You don't make a chance to cross verify what is happening. And that is where then three level of things are happening. One, they show that, okay, open your rear camera and show a 360-degree video that no one is around because it's a very sensitive national security investigation. So once they have verified that you're alone in the room, they ask you to shut the doors, disconnect everyone, and not to speak to anyone. Now, second is, see, then, at some pretext, at some point, they'll come that, look, either you have to be penalized with some small penalty because you're not the real culprit, you are a victim, or then they'll, if you don't agree to that, then they'll start further scaring you. Oh, you are connected with these drug peddlers, you are connected with this money laundering people. 400 crores have
Okay.
been laundered.
Jiten, I'm going to just
2
take
crores
a quick break. 2 seconds. I'm going to come back to you, but just a quick break. I just realized. So we're going to continue, come back to Jiten, and he'll tell us what to do. So after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We are discussing cybercrime, cyber fraud, and what to keep ourselves safe in this digital world. Jiten, sorry I interrupted you. You were telling us what usually is the modus operandi.
So now once they tell you that you have to hire a lawyer, which is available, you have to pay a penalty. See, as Jaijit rightly said, that all accounts are KYC verified, and there is no way that somebody is asking for a physical cash or gold. It's not a 420 scam. You have to transfer money digitally, either by scanning a QR code for UPI or by adding a new beneficiary. With UPI QR code, you can only transfer 20,000, 40,000 rupees maximum, or 50,000, 1 lakh. But these people out there to scam 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 25 lakhs, crores at times. For that, they want you to actually transfer money from your account to some other account. And for that, a new beneficiary has to be added. And that takes 8 hours to 24 hours. And that is why this compulsion of business of digital arrest, that you are arrested for 8 hours, 24 hours, go to cafes, come back, but be there with us till the time beneficiary is activated. As soon as you transfer money, the investigation is settled, the money goes to further 20, 40 mixer accounts. And then now Jaijit rightly pointed out what is what are options you are left with. First thing, you will try and call up police. The government has launched a 1930 helpline and cybercrime.gov.in that you immediately call up these numbers, give the numbers of fraudsters and this bank account, they'll be frozen. It did work beautifully in the first 2-3 years till last year. Today, if you call up for 6 hours, nobody even picks up the call because they're overrun with the thousands and thousands of calls every day. So a system which was designed to specifically prevent the scenarios, to hold on to your money, not to get it settled, immediately freeze accounts and other second layer accounts, so that money is, money is, secured at some point of in some level of account, so that it can be withdrawn and given back to you. But that is not working anymore because nobody picks up the phone. Then you are asked to file a complaint on cybercrime.gov.in website. Nobody responds for 20 days. You keep calling them up, and then some gentleman will come up and say that, oh, you need to go to the local cops. Now, to avoid the scenario, to stop this harassment of going to a local thana, for that very reason, this helpline and portal was started. So that purpose stands defeated. Now, fourth, at the heart of this entire scam is that in India, we have almost 80 crore people online with smartphones, connected banking, because we have enrolled 60, 70 crore people in the Jan Dhan accounts. So in the absence of a biometric enabled KYC in banking and telecom sector, today our telecom and banking sector remains completely broken in terms of KYC. You take a SIM card, you activate a WhatsApp, you break the SIM card, or the company close it in the absence of a proper KYC, the WhatsApp continues for 1 year, and these people carry out scams. So the regulators are also sleeping, literally sleeping. You can wake up someone, who's willing to do something. You keep calling, and they are very well aware of the problem. It's just the lack of absolute political will and their responsibility, which they are refusing to discuss. And the last point I want to make: if your money is gone, usually people think that, oh, my public reputation might be at stake, I should go to the police. No, please hire a lawyer and start suing the banks, because they are equally responsible. Once they're informed of fraud and they refuse to take a complaint, or they refuse to froze those accounts, or they ask you to go to police, it's not right. They are supposed to take all those actions on your behalf the moment you've informed them of a fraud.
Very well said. Nikhat, what happened with you in the follow-ups?
Yeah, I was told by many people that you should register a complaint, because because I didn't know what happened. I didn't know how much they were able to source from my phone, or, they might do something more. So I was actually traveling to Delhi the next day and then on to Goa, where I live from Himachal. So I went immediately to the nearest police thana. There was a very sweet man there. It's a small village. And he told me that, ma'am, hum register to kar sakte hain. but आप गोवा जा रहे हो तो better आप वहाँ करो. So I said, I'll get to go only after 3-4 days because I'm transiting Delhi for a few days in between. So he said, यहाँ करोगे बहुत time लगेगा, नहीं तो आप एक काम करो, आप online that same portal आप उस पे करो. So I thought that might be the best. I didn't want to wait for 4 days before I got to Goa and then go to the local thana there and then explain that this happened in Himachal, and get in that crossfire. Believe me, I was unable. I tried for 2 days. I could not. I mean, it was not working. You put in some information and then it's asking you for the same information again. It didn't work. I felt responsible. I felt I should complain, not just to protect myself, because after a day or two, my fear went away and I realized that there's no way they can hurt me or harm me, But I wanted to do it because, just to talk about it so people know. But it didn't happen and I gave up.
Okay. Look, last, we are totally out of time, but just one last word from Jaijit and Jiten. So, what do you tell people? Do not download, of course, the obvious tips, but what else,
Quick thing from my side is that we can't go back. I mean, we can't go back to checks and cash, actually.
People are.
Yeah, in fact, in my class at IIT, I would ask which is the most secure organization in the world. They would say, RAW or Mossad or something. I mean, answer was Osama bin Laden because they would use no electronic messages. The only time they used a phone line and they got caught and he got killed. So, but we can't go back to that kind of a world. Now, solutions exist within the digital world, and we need to quickly go ahead and start implementing it. Part of what Jiten mentioned, it's all well known how it can be done. And if the phone lines are inundated, that's what the apps are for. And the action has to be taken with the banks and it should be linked to the banks. It's as simple as that. We don't need to have humans involved in it. It can all be automated. And insofar as the people are concerned, it's very difficult to say what not to do, but don't fall for fear and greed. And take your time. Pause, think. If somebody is pushing you, that itself is alarm bell. If somebody is telling you to do something immediately, just step back and say, I can't, I'll have to think and I'll come back. I've had these cases where they've said the electricity bill you need to pay by 2 o'clock, and I'm in a meeting, right? So I want to finish off this little, 5,000-6,000 rupee thing and finish off. But I said, I will not. They said they'll disconnect it. I said, theek hai, kar dijiye disconnect. But, people should know that around.
So just be aware, Jiten, what other tips that you are giving apart from, because, end of the day, all our transactions now online. Now we are also, my insurance guy came, he's up sub checks dena shuru kar liya fir se, because that's the only thing you can trust.
No, I think
link pe hum click kare?
obviously we can't go back to Stone Age or COVID age, but I think 3 things we can do.
Stone Age.
A, start giving fake mobile numbers and email IDs on every reception, shopping malls and restaurants.
Okay.
You don't need to give your real IDs. 2, all these restaurants are now coming up with these fancy QR code menus. Stop scanning them, ask for a physical menu. Many of the times, scamsters just change the QR code. They trick you to download a malware in garb of a menu box. Your mobile phones get infected. Now, once a mobile phone is infected, or they send you some random link. These days they are running this, browser attacks using JavaScripts where your browser gets compromised. And these days, all browsers you would have noticed have capacities to read OTPs. So once you've infected a browser and then in turn a device, and if they're able to use the OTPs, they don't need anything else. They literally can access your bank accounts, email accounts, Google accounts, social media IDs. And once they've done that, usually these, tricky spammers are not there to, steal your Instagram and then, ask for some money. They will wait you for 6 months, 7 months, and then try and figure out whatever your banking passwords are. And then they'll go for a kill like digital arrest, where they come up with exact information which would not have been known to anyone else. They'll give you a real Aadhaar number, your bank account balance, this, that you have had this transaction, and they make you actually transfer the money. So stop giving your mobile number, email IDs. Stop spanning this QR codes. Third, if you're getting any OTPs to reset your banking passwords, email passwords, social media accounts, do not ignore. Seek help, go to cops, seek expert, help from a cyber experts like us, seek help from your colleagues, but do not ignore. Just because nothing has gone wrong, don't think that your mobile is not hacked. Somebody may have hacked it, install a malware or adware, and may have been just waiting for months and months to carry out a bigger scam or make you a part of botnet. So just 3 simple things. I think then we could be reasonably safe in this age.
Okay, thank you so much for this.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.